Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning, and I'm just heading home after running a few errands. But yesterday was the meeting between Carney and Donald Trump in Washington, and I don't know if anybody watched the meeting, watched the little get together they had in front of the press. But I'm not quite sure it went the way that Carney was anticipating or hoping. And I don't think it went the way that a lot of the liberal supporters who voted this government in hoped that it went. I mean, don't forget, Carney weaponized Trump and basically stood on a platform with one singular message that Trump is a threat and he is the only person who can deal with Trump. But what we saw was that very quickly, um, Trump made it very, very clear that there was nothing that Carney could do to or say to change or influence the Trump's decision on enacting tariffs. But then he further expressed that the US wants nothing from Canada, that he doesn't want Canadian cars, Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, and even suggested, sorry for the bumps, even suggested that it's essentially within his power to collapse the Canadian automotive sector. So I don't think it went quite the way that Carney was hoping. Um, so we'll have to wait and see. When he comes back. I've already seen some of the Canadian mainstream media, legacy media's reports on the meeting, um, basically putting a very positive spin on it, really ignoring everything Trump said and just focusing more on the fact that Carney said that Canada's not for sale and Canada won't become a 51st state. Um, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think a lot of people, if they are disappointed, should be rather disappointed and perhaps questioning now, why did they vote this guy in? But, and that's something that, I think that we're going to be asking ourselves more and more. That all of a sudden, Carney popped, well, I shouldn't say he popped up from nowhere. He was always behind the scenes. But this sense that he wasn't so much elected as selected for this role. And it's not just Canada. It's, I want to be careful without coming across as, overly being a conspiracy theorist. What do they say? But the difference between a conspiracy and the truth is 3 months. But when you look at what's happening back in the UK and Canada, it's almost a mirror image. Here we have two governments. Khan is being basically a continuation of Trudeau's and Starmer's government, both completely set in their ways to enact a variety of political and social changes, remaining completely tone deaf to the sentiment of the public. Canadians are concerned about healthcare. They're concerned about rising costs. They're concerned about the price of food, the increased use of food banks, and that people are struggling. And all we get from the government, I think the only major financial policy statement that Khan has made thus far is that more money is going to Ukraine. Starmer completely ignoring the issues surrounding the illegal boat crossings across the channel, the migrant crisis that's happening. Any opposition to it or any concern, any voices raised in dissent are quickly relegated to the far right extremism. And both Carney and Starmer are seemingly wanting to hurtle us towards this net zero dystopia. Um, it's almost very, very uncanny how similar the two are. And unfortunately, in Canada, people won't get to see this. They won't get to make this comparison when a lot of foreign news doesn't get shown in Canada. The CBC, the mainstream media, won't report on any of this, and the majority of people won't see anything on their social media feeds. But it does really raise the question that how can you have two governments of two completely sovereign nations, supposed sovereign nations, almost arm in arm in terms of their policies, in terms of how they're treating their population, how they're just ignoring what the people are screaming for. So the good news over in the UK, though, is that Nigel Farage and the Reform Party seem to be gaining a lot of ground, and just dominating in the local council elections. And I think we might see Starmer, just like Carney stepped back from the carbon tax. Talks of Starmer stepping back from that barbaric act, that weasel-like decision he made as soon as he got elected, after promising he wouldn't, cancelling the fuel allowance for the elderly. So it looks like he might be stepping back on that and giving this back to them. We'll wait and see, though, and even if he does, it's not because he's doing it because he's just being very, out of a sense of noblesse oblige. It's simply just a political maneuver in exactly the same way the rolling back of the carbon tax, and I won't say a cancelling because I don't think the carbon tax has officially been cancelled in Canada. It's just been paused. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But Starmer's doing exactly the same thing now. His government is just making an absolute mockery of the British parliamentary system, turning their backs on people that absolutely need them. I'll talk about this in another video, but the grooming gang, rape gang issue, where the government there is refusing to call a national inquiry. Anybody watching in Canada, if you haven't heard of this, just to do a Google search of what's been happening in the UK for the past several years. Just an absolute travesty of justice, but one in which politicians and senior members of the various British police forces are very, very much involved and have a lot to answer for. So it's still early days yet to see what's going to transpire in Canada, and with Trump. But obviously Trump is still keeping on with his making Canada the 51st state. And I think a lot of it is that he's just not stepping back. He had a lot of great fun teasing Trudeau about being Governor Trudeau, and he's kind of really not stepping back from that. But we'll see. What are your thoughts? How did you think the meeting went? I don't think it was overly positive, or there was anything that he can come back and boast that he accomplished. But let me know what you thought, and what you think is going to happen. But all right, guys, I just wanted to just drop a couple of thoughts about this, and I'm hoping to do a video later on, kind of getting back to a lot of what I wanted this channel to be about, some bringing you a whiskey tasting. So hopefully, if I can get through my work quick enough today, I'll be dropping one of those videos. But yeah, if you haven't already, I would really appreciate subscribing. Thanks to everybody for the quite lively comments on the last video, and then some interesting discussion starting. And obviously, this whole issue is something people are rather passionate about. So So yeah, if you haven't already, I'd appreciate you subscribing, hitting the bell notification so you get updated when I release another video. But I'm almost home and time to get back to work. And until the next video, take care.